form the portal vein. The inferior mesenteric vein drains into the splenic vein. And remember, the inferior mesenteric vein is going to drain from the top of the superior rectum, and it's going to receive the left colic vein. So those are the same arteries. So now this blood flows into the liver. It is rich in amino acids, and it is rich in simple sugars. It will join with the hepatic artery. For some reason I can never keep track of my red one.
It's right there underneath that. Right there.
Thank you. So traveling with, coming from the celiac trunk, and traveling with we have our left gastric and our splenic. So this would be celiac trunk. Hepatic artery. Normally, for the small intestine, we would have the superior mesenteric artery going to the small intestine and the superior mesenteric vein coming from it. And the two would be traveling in the opposite direction, like the ovarian artery and the ovarian vein. This is very unusual to have venous blood flowing into an organ side by side with arterial blood. But remember, we're taking the nutrient material to the liver along with the oxygenated blood to allow the liver to do its metabolic activities. That mixes within the liver. So the arterial and the venous blood actually mix together and flow through the capillaries as a mixture of oxygenated and deoxygenated, but nutrient-rich blood. And then finally, here's our inferior vena cava. Will enter into the inferior vena cava after it's passed through the liver as the hepatic veins, and you can see them right here. So you will be marked wrong if you call the portal vein the hepatic vein. Hepatic veins are carrying blood out of the liver to the inferior vena cava. We saw those here. When we get to the digestive system, we will go over this again, because it's more relevant there. So if I were to say, trace a drop of blood from the heart to the stomach, well, I have to put the stomach back. Gastric arteries, kind of form a loop along and come in here. Those are the gastric arteries. So if I were to say, trace a drop of blood from the heart to the small intestine and back to the heart again, you would go heart, ascending aorta, arch of the aorta, thoracic aorta, abdominal aorta. What's the vessel that carries blood from the abdominal aorta to the small intestine? Superior mesenteric artery. And then I would have piped out small intestine. You wouldn't have to worry about capillary beds. Okay. Then we would return to the heart via the superior mesenteric vein, But before we go to the inferior vena cava, we have to go portal vein to liver to a hepatic vein, inferior vena cava and heart.
So pretty much the liver's just filtrating all of that.
Yeah, the liver is going to take those amino acids and store the carbs as glycogen, take the amino acids and make proteins and transport proteins and so on. Okay? So again, we have all the same veins, we just combine them as the portal vein and send them to the liver first. And that's what you can visualize in this diagram here. So these organs are all coming together and going to the liver and then going back to the inferior vena cava as the hepatic veins. If the liver is not working, there's cirrhosis of the liver or liver cancer or hepatitis, then the liver tissue makes extra connective tissue. The epithelial cells are replaced by connective tissue. It tries to collapse those vessels, pressure backs up, and so that is seen as portal hypertension. And one of the areas that you see portal hypertension are these surface veins in the anterior abdominal wall that bulge out. They're actually called caput medusa. We'll cover that in the digestive system. Medusa was the woman that had the hair with snakes, and that's what it reminded somebody of.
So is that because the blood can't go into
Exactly.
the liver's just plugged up?
Right, and so it backs out. In fact, a sign of liver failure or liver problems is an enlarged spleen, because it's backing up the splenic vein into the spleen. Another sign are hemorrhoids. So either external or internal hemorrhoids, because it's backing up into that venous system. And so hemorrhoids can be located internally, where you don't see them, but they can cause bleeding, right? Or they can be located externally, where you do see them. And they can cause pain or itching or both. So when I talked about the branches of the internal iliac artery, we looked at this image. Again, this is looking from the back. We're looking at arterial supply. So here's the superior rectal artery supplying the top of the rectum. With it is the superior rectal vein carrying blood back up to the inferior epigastric artery. Here's our common iliac dividing to form internal iliac and external iliac. The internal iliac is giving off the middle rectal artery that goes to the middle part of the rectum. The internal pudendal artery traveling towards the penis, the vagina, the labia, but a branch off of it goes directly to the external anal sphincter as the inferior rectal artery. Same vessels as a venous system carry blood away. So here's the inferior rectal vein carrying blood into the internal pudendal. Here's a middle rectal vein carrying blood into internal iliac. Internal pudendal runs into internal iliac. Here's the superior rectal carrying it into inferior mesenteric. So constipation, going through labor and pushing a baby out, all right, can cause increased abdominal pressure. Liver failure can also back up pressure. So any backup of that system is going to back up through these vessels and be a cause of either internal for the middle rectal vein or external for the inferior rectal vein type hemorrhoids. Okay. So when we look at the branches of the internal iliac, I'm not going to diagram them separately, just recognize that they are going to be the same as the artery branches. So I will write a list. Anybody want to take a last minute picture? I'm going to erase the portal system. I'll leave the other one up on the board. So recognize that the inferior rectal vein drains pudendal vein. And that will drain into the internal iliac vein. The middle rectal vein will also drain into the internal iliac vein, and the obturator vein will also drain into the internal iliac vein as separate veins, just like we have those arteries branching from internal iliac. So again, the exact same system that we talked about with the arterial system, nothing different. With the middle rectal artery will be a middle rectal vein. With the obturator artery will be an obturator vein. Now we have just the lower extremity where we do fetal circulation as well, but as far as the veins are concerned, we have just the lower extremity. You already know these vessels from what you studied for the quiz, and we will add two superficial veins. One of them, which you've already heard of, the great saphenous vein. So you've probably already heard of that one. It's commonly used for bypass surgery. So may I erase these words? You guys have those? So I'm going to start from the feet because we're carrying blood up towards the inferior vena cava. So what were the two arteries that carry blood to the bottom of the foot? Lateral plantar and medial plantar. So if we're looking at the right leg and foot here,